November 2025, and today I'm joined by some of the most interesting guests I've had in a long time, and so many of you have been waiting. Good evening, gentlemen. Can we quickly go around with introduction, starting on the bottom right? Mkoma Chengetai.
You would want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please, for the audience.
Okay, that's fine. Good evening, good evening, panelists, and to all our listeners. My name is Chengetai Guta, and I'm the Director of Information and Protocol for the MDC.
Fantastic. Mkoma Munashe.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Munashe Mupa, and I'm the MDC USA Treasurer and Interim Secretary for Information. Thank you.
Okay, Chairman Den.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen and fellow panelists. My name is Dan Moyo. I'm the outgoing MDC USA Chairman.
Okay, fantastic. So let us set the background. Yesterday, we had a discussion with the USA team. And this morning, I received a call, obviously, to say the MDC of Douglas Mwonzora, which was the subject of the discussion, as they have a spokesperson in Harare, Mkoma Chengetai Guta, they need to respond and give us an update on their own side on Ovation. So, Mkoma Chengetai, take us through what has happened. Accordingly, we've been given an update by the team Chairman Dan. Take us through your version of what has happened, and then we'll give them a chance to respond.
Okay. I will skip the precursor to the events that you have just described and go straight to it. The events that have unfolded in the last 3 days, I suppose, one cannot make heads or tails of this grand confusion, in my understanding. And I'm saying grand confusion. I will demonstrate how and why. Now, the drama starts with our Secretary for Defense, Shakespeare Mkoi, wrestling the party HQ in the company of about 18 people who included individuals from other political organizations. For example, you had people like Gore Kore coming from MDC Renewal. We also had Chirombe from Triple C, people like Marara, Norest, who expelled from the party, or rather expelled themselves from the party. That aside, I'll jump straight into the details of what then followed up after the wrestling of the party HQ, which is Emirati House. Others know it as Harvest House. Mkoi then goes on to address a presser, and if you listen to it, good thing it's a public record. It's there on the internet. He starts by giving a brief history of the party and dives straight into allegations of financial mismanagement without a single shred of evidence that we have seen from the time he addressed up to now. This is about 3 days now, going to the 4th day. We've not seen any, with allegations of crimes of this nature. Naturally, you'd be expected to present empirical proof to say, we are alleging financial mismanagement and here's the evidence. We've not seen anything of that sort. And the reason why I am underlining or underscoring on this point is that we then see what I will call opportunists coming in to flank or to grab the chance of also expressing what they may have wanted to do for quite a long time. Now, before I get into that, Mkoi, at some point in his address, gives a disclaimer to say, members of other political parties are not allowed to interfere in what he was doing, and he called it, in quotes, an in-house problem or an in-house issue. But then already, as I've mentioned, you saw the people that I mentioned, that they were coming from other political parties, which at that point was the beginning of the second part of the drama, where you then see opportunists coming in to present what they also thought was an opportunity for them to start talking about other things. Now, you see the coming in of people talking about a high court order, which now they were giving an impression that it must be enforced. Now, if we are to really be frank about it, court orders are not enforced by individuals. That's why we have law enforcement, the police. They enforce orders. But you hear people in that very same press are saying, oh no, the youths are coming to enforce this and that. What that means is the order, the purported order, which was not mentioned by Mukoyi in his address, it now forms second part of the drama. Now you see the drama shifting to now really define itself, for lack of a better word. You see an attack on leadership. Leadership being plural in the sense, you don't hear of anyone being mentioned there. The only person you hear being mentioned is Douglas Mwonzora. And that tells us that it's an attack on an individual. And it now takes me back a little bit to the precursor which I had mentioned earlier on. Just a week before, President Douglas Mwonzora was in Bulawayo. He was addressing a media briefing, speaking out against the 2030 agenda. Now, this is an issue that is of national interest. He spoke again about reparations for victims of political violence. He also talked about the resuscitation of the delimitation court challenge, which basically is speaking to electoral reforms. These are issues of national significance and importance. And during that address, there was a gang of people whom we don't know where they came from, armed with guns and crowbars. And again, this is on set. This is on video. They start attacking. They disrupted that meeting or that press briefing. Now, a few days after, we see the invasion of our party HQ by individuals whom we don't know about. And what makes it very strange is that you start to hear people saying Douglas Mwonzora is illegitimate because of a court order. Now, I'll start with the person who addressed the press at the HQ, Shakespeare Mkoyi. I would not think that he would want to refer Douglas Mwonzora to as an illegitimate leader. The reason being, he's in that position appointed by the very same person that he's alleging to be illegitimate. So, by extension, he becomes illegitimate, and whoever else. Now, you don't see any other person from leadership. All we have seen is the gentleman here, outgoing, in quotes. Well, he's been saying that for quite some time now, chairperson of the USA branch, Dan Moyo. We've not seen any local leaders. We have got 12 chairpersons in Zimbabwe. None of them were with Shakespeare Mkoyi. None of them have spoken. And you begin to wonder, even from our national chairperson, we've not seen any. Our national organ, our secretary for security. Remember, there are two departments. There's secretary for defense, there's a secretary for security. Now you only see the secretary of defense appearing on his own without his deputy or director or whoever else. On his own, with people who don't belong to the party, and youths whom we have failed to identify. We don't know them. No one knows them. And this gives us reason to worry what really is going on. The optics were not good for them. Yes.
I've given you about 10 minutes to respond. Okay. So please wrap up your response.
Okay. I would wrap up my response quickly to say, by making reference to because what has become topical is I've left out other things, of course. I'm just going to go straight to the so-called court order. Now, if you look at this court order, it's not enforceable. And the reason why it's not enforceable is this. Number one, you have one of the applicants is a known member of ZANU-PF by the name of Gift Konjan. He's a member of ZANU-PF. That's the reason why it can't be enforced. It's coming from another party. The other thing is that it is ambiguous. It's not clear. If you were to look at it, it does not. There's only three parts to that court order. For the avoidance of doubt, you might just give me a minute to quickly read what the order says. And most people are being misled by the summary of what the judge considered to come to the order. Now, if you're reading a judgment or a court order, you go straight to the last page where it says, it is therefore ordered that, and then they specify 1, 2, 3. Now, the order says, number one, the application for a declarator be and is hereby granted. That's number one. Number two, the purported National Congress held on December 2022 by the second respondent to the National Congress of the respondent be and is hereby declared null and void for non-compliance with the respondent's constitution. It ends there. Now, I'll quickly give a comparison of a similar case with an order that was very specific, the Mashavira case. It says the third respondent, it is accordingly ordered that the third respondent in her capacity as acting president of the first appellant be and is hereby ordered to convene an extraordinary Congress within a period of 3 months. That's number one. Number two, in the event that the third respondent fails to or is unable to comply with the paragraph number 3, which I've just read, the third appellant, in his capacity as national chairperson of the first appellant, be and is hereby ordered to convene the aforesaid extraordinary Congress. It's very clear. Now, this one doesn't say anything. Now, we've had people say we are going back to 2018. Now, here's how they are interpreting the judgment. The judgment says it nullifies the Congress. Now, before the Congress happened, who convened it? If you go to the MDC Constitution, it says the president is the one who calls for the Congress, which means what they are asking for a nullification was ordered by a president. Now, who was the president before the nullification? It's Douglas Mwonzora. Now, they are saying we go back to 2018. Why? Because this is a war against an individual. And there's everything wrong about it. I think for now, I will sum it up and hear from others.
Okay. So, Mkoma, I've heard clearly what you said. Let me summarize, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right. You have said, firstly, what Mkoyi did was not supported by other people, and other chairmen in Zimbabwe don't support what Chairman Den is saying and the US team. And you have also said the order is unenforceable because the actual action was brought by people who are not members. And then fourth, you have said that Mwonzora is still the president because even though there was a nullification of the Congress, he was the president before the actual Congress. So, Chairman Den, I'm going to give you the floor to respond to the 4 issues raised.
Mr. Guta, finally, face to face. Here are a couple of things I want to raise first. One, Mr. Guta here refers to bona fide members of MDC as opportunists and calls them being expelled from the party. I want to remind Mr. Guta here to start off with where all this started. It started when the legitimate EOC, the procedures to that EOC. Any MDC member knows how congresses are conducted in MDC. The nomination of the standing committee comes from the provinces, and I want Mr. Kutaye to tell me if that happened. That's number one. Number two, these congresses they start from the structures. You, according to the MTC constitution, every 5 years you have to restructure. All your structures have to undergo a renewal where new leadership is elected or retained, but again by the people. So the mandate is with the people. So that never happened when we went to the bogus 2022 Congress. And so when Douglas tried to expel, I was one of the people. There were 7 of us that he tried to expel. We took him to court, and he lost very badly. He was told in no uncertain terms by the courts that he has no mandate, no local stand to suspend anyone, because his leadership was contested. And therefore, he doesn't have any power, which he still doesn't have up to today. So thirdly, Mr. Kuta here alluded to leader Shakespeare Mkoi not mentioning anything about the High Court order. I'm very glad he brought that up, because it is an indication on its own that there are a slew of reasons, not just the High Court order, but hundreds of reasons from bona fide MDC members who want to see the back of Dagi as soon as yesterday for the failures he has brought upon the party. We are talking of a party here that won elections in 2008 versus Robert Mugabe. There was a runoff that resulted in the death of more than 300 of our members, and as such, we were denied taking over power. Now that same party, now within 5 years, is a shell of itself, whereby now it can't even win a ward by election, all because of a failed leader. And then you sit there and wonder why people don't want to see Dagi anymore as representing the party. Thirdly, I want to go to the High Court judgment. The High Court judgment was very clear, and I'm glad he read the judgment at the end, which says that this declarator is hereby granted. Now, if you are a smart man that you are, Mr. Kuta, you would have read the declarator and know what exactly the declarator was demanding. And when the judge says that declarator has been granted, he means that the declarator has been granted. And therefore, the declarator was very clear on its demands. Those demands were that there should be a Congress held within 6 months, and that was granted. We are now 9 months into that judgment, and the court order to hold the Congress has not been adhered to. It has been ignored. And now we are talking about a national law being violated by a so-called president who has been told that his presidency is illegitimate. And if he wants to rectify that presidency, he needs to hold a fresh Congress that follows the party's constitution. And all that was never done. When Mr. Kuta talks of the order being unenforceable because there were individuals like Gift Konjana, who was an applicant, he knows very well that he's trying to pull wool over people. This is what we call classical gaslighting. At the time the lawsuit was filed, Honorable Gift Konjana was a chairman of Mashonaland East a bona fide MDC member. Remember that the judgment came 3 years after we filed that. When he got frustrated along the way by Mwonzora for refusing to accept the will of the people, he moved on. And Mr. Kuta, must think that the High Court judges are stupid. Not only that, including the Supreme Court, because all these arguments he is making about how Mwonzora remains the president, Mwonzora himself made those arguments when he went to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled exactly the same way. It told him, you are illegitimate, you have no local stand to speak on behalf of MDC matters. So now what has been happening is that the party now has been hijacked by Mwonzora, despite these court rulings that were very clear. What the intent of the court was that the party has to go back and hold a Congress so that we have an elected leader. And at this juncture, what has happened is the very same thing that Mwonzora was doing when we were telling him, when the judgment came out, he sent people to us as the applicants, Chimani Kire and 2 other people, and said they were representing him. We accepted them because we wanted an orderly transition here. We wanted an orderly transition whereby a Congress, whereby the court judgment is implemented and the laws of Zimbabwe are respected. And so we accepted those people when they came to us. We sat down, we explained our grievances, where we are coming from, why we went the route we did, and now that it's time to implement the court judgment. They agreed with us. We came up with a document, a resolution that was signed by Mwonzora's negotiators and the negotiators representing the litigants. And what happened, Mwonzora refused to sign that document and told us that he is staying as president of MDC Zenaro, whether we like it or not. He did not care of the fact that to be an MDC president, you have to be elected by the people in a democratic, free and fair Congress. We, for several months, which has taken so long, the judgment came out in February. We have been patient with Mwonzora. We have shown magnanimity in our victory with the High Court judgment. But at the same time, remember, the party does not belong to Mwonzora, neither does it belong to Dan Moyo. The party belongs to the people. And the people are the ones who have said enough is enough. We are now going to take this matter in our hands. The youth decided they were going to take the matter in their hands, and they did just that.
All right, Chair, can I stop you, Chair? I've given you 10 minutes to respond. You have responded. And let me summarize what you've said. And your points have been very clear. You said there is a court order. The court order has the declarata. The declarata is that a Congress must be held within 6 months, and the Congress was not held. Hence, the party has taken back the youths. They've taken back the party. And Mwonzora is no longer the legitimate leader of the party through a popular process or a popular action within the party. So basically, he has been removed. So I think we've got 2 sides. One side that says the court order is not valid, and one side that says the court order is valid, and the party is responsible, or the youths took an action to remove President Mwonzora, or the president who was there, who's Mwonzora. And Mkoma Cheketa is saying even if the court order is valid, Mwonzora is still the president. He is still to call the Congress. Can you answer me here, Chairman Dan? Let's say a Congress is to be called right now. Who would call that Congress?
Mwonzora himself has no mandate from the people. He has no legitimacy. He has no local stand, and those are not my words. Those are the words of the Supreme Court judgment. If you listen, and that Supreme Court judgment came after Mwonzora himself went to the Supreme Court and appealed the judgment from the High Court. And the Supreme Court told him in no uncertain terms that you are illegitimate, you have no local standing, to handle MDC matters. So what that means is that if you ask yourself, then who has the mandate? It is the people, the members of the MDC, the bona fide members, who are the ones that have the power, who by right should have been the ones that elected Mwonzora, but were never given that opportunity because the party was hijacked. They are the ones now who have the mandate to decide whether they form a body that's going to handle the Congress that's coming up, or whether they decide they need to form an acting leader. But what we have said to the people is, listen, at the end of the day, we do not want another leader who's not elected by the people. There is no one who's going to impose himself as a leader just for the purpose of saying we need him to call for Congress. We are saying to hell with that. The members have the mandate. The members will choose a body, or if they choose a person, it's really up to them. But at this moment in time, we don't want anyone to impose themselves to think that they have the right to walk into Harvest House and declare themselves a leader.
Okay, let's take a break from the two leaders. Let's go to Mkoma Munashe. You are the spokesperson right now. Can you read for us you've got a process, the document that you've got there? Yes. Take us through the document, because it will help us to the next stage where we want to go.
Okay, thank you so much. So what we have done, and as a way forward, is we had made efforts to rope in Douglas Mwonzora and team to work with us. And initially, from the document that I'm going to share, we have removed a provision for a ceremonial president, which was initially there. So we presented this document to Douglas Mwonzora initially and asked him to still be there as ceremonially and lead us to Congress. However, he denied that. And therefore, I'm going to share what we have here. So from, I'm not sure if it's presenting. Can you see it? Okay. So from the party constitution, right, we do have a guardian council, right? And this is the document that I have presented in front of you. What we have come up with is a solution, which is a transitional resolution to ensure that we have a formidable party, which then presents us an opportunity to ensure that MDC regains its former glory. And before I present it in detail, I would like to let everybody know that the MDC is welcoming everybody back home. Those who had been lost, those who had formed other parties and the likes, we are inviting you back home. And you will see from this document that people will have an opportunity to show their abilities, and whosoever is interested in a political office does have approximately a year to showcase themselves and gain the love of the people towards election. All right. So the document takes us back to the judgment from the High Court, right? However, we are now saying we are forming a caretaker guardian council, right? Which then is comprised of members from various demographics, right? And that being said, the document suggests that the majority of the caretaker guardian council would be youths. Now, why we decided this is we want a party that is representative of the Zimbabwean demographics, right? Over 90% of the people of Zimbabwe are 55 and below. And therefore, it's high time we present ourselves as a party that really does represent what the people stand for. Now, mistakes have been made, and even Douglas Mwonzora is welcome to come back as a card-carrying member and contest if he likes. All right? Now, one other thing that we also came up with is whosoever becomes part of the Caretaker Guardian Council, since this Caretaker Guardian Council will have executive powers in the interim, will not be contesting come the time of the Congress. Now, in addition to that, we are saying Congress should be held towards the end of 2026 to allow whosoever has ideas to present his ideas for our people of Zimbabwe, so that individual or those individuals would be elected into office. I think you would agree with me that a lot of people have been elected in offices, but they have not delivered what they have promised to the people if they knew what they were promising.
Okay. Mkama Munasi, can I stop you?
Yes,
Because our time, obviously, we have to manage our time.
certainly.
We've got exactly 30 minutes to wrap up. So
Okay.
let me summarize what you've said so that we look at where we are, all of us.
Certainly.
You have said that you presented a document to the President Mwonzora, and the document says that a caretaker council will run the MDC between now and Congress, and people who are going to be in that caretaker council cannot then contest in the final or new leadership that is going to come at Congress. And this caretaker council is the one that is going to take the decisions leading up and also convene the Congress. Am I correct in summary?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so let's now all wrap up because the time is short and everyone is getting 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. But now let's do 5 minutes. Let's go back to spokesperson, in fact, Director of Communications, Chengetai Guta. You have heard everything said here. In summary, what are you saying about this in response? Where are we going according to you?
I'm sorry to say that, you know what, these two gentlemen keep wrapping themselves up in more confusion and confusion. Now, to start with, I was looking at the document that he is presenting just now. He doesn't even know the party logos and symbols. Those don't belong to the MDC. And he presents them as something coming from the MDC. I don't know. Now, let me say to Mr. Den Moyo, the EOC was not challenged. Whatever you feel about the EOC is in your head. It was not challenged in court, so you cannot write off the leadership that came from the EOC. You cannot do that. It's just a figment of your imagination. Now, what you are saying or presenting here, if I heard you correctly, to say you're going to have a caretaker council of some sort, that is not even provisioned in the very same constitution you're talking about. It's not there. The constitution is clear. You are saying, okay, assuming that you don't want to acknowledge the EOC outcome, you go back to the death of Morgan Tsvangirai. When you go back to the death of Morgan Tsvangirai, go to section 9.21.1. It tells you what to do. And you are coming up with what you want, not what the constitution says. It says that the president or the chairperson, as at that time, calls for Congress. But here you are telling us about some caretaker council. That's not even legal. So I don't think you know what you're talking about. Now, if I'm to also then go to the issue of, you're talking about people. I don't know which people you're referring to. Please, let's say party members. That's if you have the party register. We do have it. You don't just say people. It's too generic. Now, I'm saying opportunists, Mr. Denmoyo, and rightfully so. Why? Because the drama starts with Shakespeare Mkoi. He never talked about these high court judgments, this, that, because he knows the truth, that this is not enforceable. And Mkoi only talks about financial mismanagement, which again, he doesn't prove. But now you come in to tell us about this and that. You were not part of the presser. That wasn't talked about. You're only coming in that this is where the opportunism comes in, where you start talking about what you want. Now, I don't see why you held up something that you are so confident that it can be enforced. The law, the police are law enforcement agents. They should have enforced your judgment or your order. I'm not going to split hairs about that order to say declarator this, that, because you know exactly, I know your legal counsel must have told you that. But what you were simply supposed to do, which we have also done before, which every other person or law-abiding person does, you go with your court order to the police to say, I want to have this enforced because it's provisioned for in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. You didn't do that. What did you do? You take somebody who is appointed by the same person you're saying is illegitimate, whom you are calling the Secretary for Defense. Who appointed him? He wasn't elected, remember that. He was appointed by Douglas Mwonzora, the same person you're saying is illegal. So how then do you recognize that extension of illegality? That's insane. That's so confusion on steroids. And I don't know why you even want to keep on that narrative. If you really want the MDC to be what it is supposed to be, then surely observe the constitution of the MDC, because it's very clear to say, how do you convene Congress? It never says caretaker council. It's very clear who is supposed to convene Congress.
Sorry, Ngoma Chengetai, we have gone through what you're saying now. I want us to look forward. What are your next steps? There is a judgment. Take us from the judgment. What are your next steps? Right now, do you say nothing happens? What are you going to do if President Mwonzora is in charge? Is there Congress? What is going to happen?
Okay, to start with, President Mwonzora, as you rightly said, remains the president and will call Congress. And the reason why we reached out to our fellow, maybe / former compatriots, was to avoid being litigious unnecessarily. Not that we are not confident that we can win this, because it's very clear the court actually misled itself. And I want to also then, maybe before I say what we are supposed to do, given the circumstances, there was no Supreme Court ruling. That's a lie. The matter was struck off the roll because there was a resolution that was required to be filed. There was no judgment from the Supreme Court. Stop lying. And if we are to go by the court judgment, which they are holding on to say court judgment, this, that, we are the only political party in the country that has done congresses more than twice under 5 years. The EOC and the ordinary Congress. No opposition political party ever did that in the country, not even the CCC. They didn't do that. And we are, in our view, because the Constitution is part of our, very strong and founding pillars that we abide by. And this is why we forced ourselves to do that. And because we know that the next due Congress is just before the elections, Congresses are not done overnight. It's a process. And what we have done is we felt that, look, we need to rebuild the organization. This is not about Douglas Mwonzora, I must say. And this is not about Denmoyo or the small group of people that have said we have not seen any local chairperson from all the 12 provinces. Nobody has spoken about your court judgment. Nobody, just yourselves in the diaspora, just that one province. No one else has done that. But we are saying, okay, that's fine. You can still come. That's why we send a delegation to you to say, come, let us talk together. Let's reason together, because we know you love the MDC. We are giving you an opportunity to say, okay, fine, let's go eat together. Not because of the court judgment, because it's void. It's empty. It doesn't give any direction at all, and you know that. But we are still saying, come, let us then go for the next Congress together, because it's coming just a year before the election. There are more important issues than egos here. I talked about the 2030 agenda, and here we are busy fighting and staging coups one against the other. We have issues to do with reform.
Mpama, you're not answering my question. My question is, there is a court order that you must hold the Congress within 6 months.
No, it doesn't.
That was done in February, and the Congress has not been held. What are you going to do now? Are you going to challenge the court order, or are you going to have the Congress?
Like I've said, the court order doesn't. The reason why I read it, because it doesn't say that. It doesn't say it should be held in 6 months. No way it says that. What these guys are reading is what is called a summary. So when a judge gives a judgment or a ruling or an order, they tell you what they have considered to come to the order, the final order, the final 1, 2, 3, 4 things that they then say ordered to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in that summary, they were considering what he is saying and what we also said. So if you read the entire document, it actually talks about what we also said about what they were claiming or what they were praying the court to give them. And it didn't give them that. It only gave them 2 things. And those 2 things does not say the Congress should be held in 6 months. And let me also say this. They are talking about the presidency of Douglas Mwonzora. But it wasn't nullified. What was nullified is the Congress process, not the presidents of Douglas Mwonzora. You must go and read it again. It says Congress, not Douglas Mwonzora.
Okay. So in summary,
it's not about one individual.
It's about in summary,
the entire leadership.
All right. In summary, the Congress was nullified.
Correct.
But you're not going to hold another Congress until 2027.
Because the process of holding a Congress is not an overnight one. What we did is we then made a proposition to the applicants in this matter to say, okay, if we are to go for Congress, here's what needs to be done. And the time frame was falling just a few months before 2027, which is supposed to be then the ordinary Congress, which covers everything. So we felt that, look, okay, let's still go to Congress with them. There's no harm. After all, we want more members. We want to rebuild the party. And these guys didn't want that. Why? Because they didn't want Douglas Mwonzora to be calling for Congress. But he's the rightful president. He's the legitimate president of the MDC right now. They don't want that.
Right. I've heard that question. So let's go back to Chairman Den. Chairman Den, this is the last opportunity. We have heard what Director said. He said there's no Congress that is going to be held between now and 2027. And Mkoma Munashe, you can also chip in here. Given this position and your document being rejected, as you have seen, what is the next step? What are we to expect from, let's say, Mkoi and yourself? What are you going to do? Are you going to continue blocking access for Mwonzora to Harvest House? Or what next step are you going to take? Chairman Den.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Sometimes debating individuals like my erstwhile friend here, Kuta, is not different than debating a serial liar like Donald Trump will tell you that the price is high nasi idora iwe waenda kuchitoro kanoatenga ne$2. It is the very same thing. Here we are, we have Mr. Kuta here twisting himself into a press cell here, trying by all means to justify the injustifiable. To start off with, the constitution that is now trying to uphold as a superior document is the very one that was violated by him and his master. The very constitution which stipulates how congresses are held, they tore it apart and they held on to power even after the courts had ruled that the Congress they held was illegitimate. When he says that a court rules that a Congress that made you a president is illegitimate, you still remain a president. Even Mwanano in the grade 1 will tell you that's nonsensical. The court ruled with the very act that made you a president was illegitimate. Therefore, you are illegitimate yourself. And then you go back and say, oh no, but I wasn't illegitimate yesterday before the court made this ruling. I had an EOC. Let me tell you what happened at that EOC. We saw live Dr. Kupe being slapped.
Okay, I agree. Chairman Den, I want to stop you because our time is finishing up. I agree with everything. I know what you're going to say about the Congress. It was nullified by the court. And even the director here agreed. The EOC was nullified. Let's go to the next step. We have a position now where Mkoi has blocked the access to Harvest House. The Mwonzora, the president, has rejected that blocking. What is the next step? I want us to go forward to reach a position for tomorrow. Waking up tomorrow, what are you going to do?
Yes, we have taken the party back to its rightful owners, the people, and they are going to make a decision. Meetings are being held right now as we speak. There's deliberations, and we will be coming out with resolutions very shortly that are going to make the road forward. What I can tell my brother here, Chengetai Kuta, is ukasachinja maitiro ako, harvest house uchaiona uchifura nepanzi, because you will never be accepted in there nengondo dzaunadzo idzodzo dzinofunga kuti vanhu vekuzimbabwe vakapusa kuti ma-MDC members they are stupid. Tisu takadzidza takanyora constitution toityora patinodira. It does not work like that, my brother. You are dealing with individuals here vane dzakakwana njere, and they know what they are doing. And Douglas Mwonzora is illegitimate, and as long as he stands by that, we will soon be instituting an audit of party assets and properties within the MDC. Don't think we don't know. We don't know about properties you have sold, monies you are holding on to. We are going to warn you right now. If you still want to be with your families and enjoy time, don't touch even a penny from that, because we are coming after you.
Okay, so I think let me show you guys the weaknesses of your arguments on both sides. I want to do that because I'm sure a lot of people who are watching here want that summary. The weaknesses on both sides are as follows, and I want you guys to respond as we close. So Mkoma Guta, the weakness on your side is that you are totally ignoring the judgment. I don't think it's possible to say we're not going to enforce anything in the judgment and we totally ignore. So that is the weakness of your judgment of your side. Secondly, I don't believe that when you go into Congress, there's a president in a party. I believe that the term of a president ends on the day of a Congress. So if a Congress is nullified, you then go to status quo where there's no president. So that is my belief. Also as your member of MDC, that is what I would believe. You can't say he is the president because he called the Congress. Because on the day of the Congress, there's no president on that day. All the terms have ended. All the office bearers are not there. So please mark those two. And then on Nkoma Den side, or on Chairman Den, I think the weakness which is there is that you are proposing a period where there's no leadership, where there is a caretaker, which according to Mkoma Guta, is not provided for in the Constitution. I believe that you need to go to the Constitution and then talk to us about what the Constitution says. Because what we have here is a failure to follow the Constitution. So both sides have to use one document, which is the Constitution. So please answer me from both sides as we close. Mkoma Guta, you can go first, then Chairman Den can close after you.
Yeah, Mkoma Den is frothing now, is trading barbs and insults at me. It's okay. Okay, so number one, you are saying that Congress should be held. Go to the Constitution. It's very clear. You don't have to make it the way you want in your head because it's there in the Constitution. Maybe let me correct a wrong assumption there, pardon, where you are saying when you go to Congress, there's no president. You are right, but before you do that, what will you be? This is the reason why I gave the example of the Mashavira judgment. The Mashavira judgment placed people to say the vice president or the acting president will call for Congress in 3 months because it's there in the Constitution. But if the vice president fails, and it doesn't mention anybody's name, it mentions an office, not a person. So the occupier of that office calls for Congress. That's why Thokozani Kupe was asked to call for Congress. If she wasn't there in that office, then the chairperson would have called for the Congress because that's what the Constitution says. So what we are simply saying is, if there's nullification of a Congress process, the Constitution strictly says Congresses are called by a certain office. That's what I meant, not a person. So who was in the office of the president before the Congress that they asked for nullification? What they asked for nullification was not the extraordinary Congress. Let's get that right. What they asked for a nullification, which was nullified, is the 2022 ordinary Congress, not extraordinary Congress. The extraordinary Congress had a president. Who was that president? Is the same president that called for the Congress that they are asking for a nullification. So if you are going back to the default settings, you go to the office that called for the Congress that you are asking for the nullification. That's clear. Number two, the last one. The reason why we are having issues with the enforcement of that judgment, the High Court judgment, to be specific, which they are holding on to, is that when they applied for the nullification of the Congress, the reasons they gave were that there was one part of Congress that was not held, which was the Women's Congress. And because of that, they nullified the entire Congress. But look, there was a precedent in the MDC, pardon, you know that. The first Congress that was held, we didn't have a youth Congress because there was a lot of skirmishes that happened. It ended up being done at the UZ, but that Congress was not nullified because the Youth Congress was not done. This is exactly what happened. The Women's Congress did not happen because there were skirmishes, and we decided to postpone it. That's when these guys applied to say we should have nullification of the whole process because of the Women's Congress. And this is the reason why we're saying we don't think that is proper. But anyway, if we are to apply that judgment, still the time frame leads us into the next Congress. We might as well do the next Congress. So in a sense, we're more or less really taking the judgment.
Okay. So Mkoma, you're still refusing to hold the Congress?
No, we are accepting.
No, but the Congress, the declarator said 6 months. So you are refusing to hold the Congress.
It doesn't say that. The judgment.
I think what we need to do, we need to get the declarator, because there's obviously a misinterpretation of the judgment. One side said there's a declarator, the other side says there's not. But what I'm saying in short, President Mwonzora is saying he's not going to hold a Congress before 2027. That is in short what he's saying.
It's because they are refusing to acknowledge his presidency from the EOC. This is where we're having the problem. If we are to enforce their judgment, it means there must be somebody to call for that Congress. And who's that somebody? The Constitution is clear. It says the EOC. Why am I saying the EOC? Because it was not challenged. Nobody challenged the extraordinary Congress, which means...
Okay, if they acknowledge his presidency, when are you going to hold the Congress?
Well, if they acknowledge, then we sit together, because we're saying we're doing it together.
But we've already tried.
But if they don't, then we can't.
Gambakwe, may I interject, please?
Yeah.
You did mention that the Constitution does not mention of a guardian council, but it does. And if you go to the Constitution, one of the functions of the guardian council is to assist in national healing and reconciliation efforts. It also plays as a role in mediating internal disputes. Currently, we are sitting with an internal dispute where we believe Mwonzora is illegitimate based on the court judgment, but he believes he is still legitimate. Now, we have made efforts to institute the Guardian Council and rob him in a ceremonial president. We tried that, and it was effort. It was.
Okay. So I can see shaking of heads. And remember, I said to you, I'm saying as a member of your party.
Yes.
I've shown you the weaknesses of both sides' argument. I've shown you the side of President Mwonzora. Now I'm showing you weaknesses on your side, and I want us to deal with it. So I don't think you can say the party is for the president.
Can I come in, Mr. Gambakwe, because before we run out of time?
Yes.
I want to say that political problems require political solutions. In 2017, if I may ask Mr. Kuta, what does the Zimbabwe Constitution say about the replacing a president before their term is finished? It stipulates exactly and clearly, but there was a political problem that within the ZANU-PF people themselves figured that they needed a political solution. And they went ahead, and right now Mnangagwa is the president, has been voted twice, and now is dreams of a third term. And here you are telling us that our people should be shackled by a constitution that you have violated to stay in power and collect rents from party properties, and even go to an extent of abusing party funds and party resources for your own aggrandizement and own benefit. And you want the people to sit back and say, oh, constitution yakati nyango Mwonzora akatadza sei mofona kumsiya ari papa ari president because akazvigadza, and you people have no say to take him out of there. I want to tell you, Mr. Kuta, that stop wasting people's time. Right now,
okay,
we have our service.
I think we're going back to the matter.
Sagamuchaita say.
Okay, wait, Richard. I think we're going back to the matters, and we're supposed to be looking forward. This is the disagreement, and I want you guys to see where your disagreement stems from. Your disagreement stems from the same thing. You don't want to accept the constitution, both sides. So what you're proposing, both sides, is something which is not in line with your constitution. That is why when you go to court, one side always loses because you guys don't want to accept the constitution. So I said to you, Chairman Dan, what you're proposing is not in the constitution. That is the weakness. You are right to go to court and you've won it.
Leader Mupa just explained to you that the Guardian Council is in the constitution and what its role is.
Yes, no. But that's what I'm saying to you. Let me give you as a member what I'm saying to you. The Guardian Council is not there to replace a president. So I'm giving you
was replaced in another process, my leader.
Yes, but that's what I'm trying to explain. So hear me out.
Yeah,
hear me out.
Removed by the court.
Hear me out. You won in court, and what comes after must follow the constitution. Mkoma Guta lost in court, and what comes must follow the constitution. But what I'm saying is both sides don't want to follow the constitution, and also Mkoma Guta and President Mwonzora don't want to follow the court order. They are saying it here that they don't want to follow the court order. They are saying the court order is not enforceable. So it's clear to me that you will never agree until you all go back to a document, which is the constitution. If you don't go to the constitution, this will never end. So Mkoma Den and Chairman Den, you also have to follow the constitution. You also can't
we are following the constitution.
No, but you're saying that there's no president. And it's clear in the constitution that there's no such time.
No, that's because those are the courts that say there's no president. And we are following
that. They say that. So let's be clear. The court said the EOC or the extraordinary Congress was nullified. And you are proposing a solution. So I'm saying to you, and what Mkoma Guta is saying to you is that you need to follow the constitution, but he doesn't want to follow the court order. That's where the disagreement is. He's saying to you, in the constitution, there's no guardian council that can take over a party. But he's refusing to follow the court order. He's saying it's unenforceable. So both sides don't want to meet. You have got no meeting of the minds. So let's go back to a point where each side then takes the constitution and tries to work through the constitution.
We already have, and that is why we approached all the factions that had a stake in this. We approached Mwonzora. He refused. We approached even the other leaders who are there and who were there before, and they were willing to work towards this. And as we are speaking, meetings are going on, and we have buy-in from all provinces. They want this to happen.
Yeah, to add to that, 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, provinces met at Harvest House. They passed a vote of no confidence on Mwonzora. In a meeting that he was supposed to attend, and he ran away and claimed that there was a funeral. He literally disappeared. So we have the mandate from all the provinces. What Kuta is doing here is just to buy time. These individuals are crooks to start off with. They embezzled party funds. Right now, I think they are busy trying to cook the books and trying to make themselves clean. But like I said, we are really coming after you. And the more you dig a hole for yourself, one wise man told me that if you find yourself in a hole, you stop digging and start climbing out. These guys continue digging deeper because they think that we are going to cave. This time around, we are not. And like I said, we have harvested our Sakamchaita say.
Okay, so I think that's where we are. That's where we are. Nkoma Buta, I think you have said a lot. So let's not keep going, because you have said your point and it's clear. You said that you are not holding the Congress until they recognize Mwonzora.
We don't need them to hold Congress. We are going to hold Congress. We don't even need them to be near that process. We are going to hold Congress.
Okay, so that is the point. One side says they're going to hold and enforce the power of the people in the party. One part says you cannot hold the Congress without the president, who is Mwonzora. Is that correct?
That's okay with Supreme Court.
Okay, that's fine. So I think we've agreed to disagree today. We disagreed, but what I would do is, Mkoma Guta, I know I didn't give you enough time to speak. I've talked to President Mwonzora just now, and I would like to ask that tomorrow, or whenever you have a chance, you come back with him. It's very important for the MDC members for him to speak. And I think Mkoma Jen and Mkoma Mnashe, you all benefit from hearing directly from him. He's watching right now as I'm talking to him. And I want us to bring him here so that he explains under what conditions he's going to hold the Congress. Because I believe that the court would not rule and nullify a Congress, and then the status quo remains. That is my belief, that the court, when it ruled, it meant that something, the Congress must be redone. That is what I believe. And I think that is also the position of the Americans, MDC American. Am I correct to say that only President Mwonzora can give us a final position on this one?
No, Mwonzora has no mandate. Really, even talking to him is a waste of time.
Yeah,
we don't have time for Mwonzora. He has wasted enough of our time for the past 5 years. We want to move forward and rebuild the MTC.
You see where the problem is. You know, when we started this discussion, I asked a very fundamental question. Who else have you seen? We have got 12 provinces, not one chairperson, and you have this.
They passed the vote of no confidence. No. You have the resolutions. You have the resolutions, but you choose to ignore them.
That's not correct. You're talking about this that you don't know about.
Everybody knows that, Kuta. You are making a fool of yourself.
No. That's not correct.
So we won't agree. We will never agree on this one. We will never agree. So let's wait for.
When you are a lawbreaker. You are a lawbreaker.
Pardon. Just one parting remark. I think Dan has demonstrated the kind of dangerous mentality that he has. You saw him glorifying 2017, which was a military coup, saying it was a political solution. No. That's called subversion of a constitution. That's what Mukoyi did. That's what your gang of
say after that subversion. After the subversion. Didn't you go and vote for him? Is he not the president? Your guys are using the same mentality that you can subvert the constitution and you stay in power. We're saying Bodo. That's not happening.
No.
We are not ZANU-PF. We are not ZANU-PF.
I get your position, Jens. I get your position.
You're jumping from
I get your position.
You cut it all over. Confusion. I told you right from the very beginning of this discussion.
All right, Jens. Okay, wait, Jens. Wait, Jens.
Okay, give me a week.
Yes, let us get.
Check nothing. ndikuudze right izvozvo chengetai uchapedzirawo kuchikurupi nehama dzako. Dzimwe dzacho they were already arrested. They were already your friends. You ran away when your friends got arrested when they were trying to hacksaw the burglars at Harvest House. You ran away. They're in jail. They've been refused bail, and soon you'll be joining them.
I've been coming to Harvest House.
So let's do this.
What are you talking
Let's
about?
do this. Let's do this tomorrow. Let's wait for President Mwonzora to come. I have talked to him. If he's not available, we are going to get probably Imim Mkomaguta and Mukoi. We'll try to get hold of Mukoi. We'll bring him here. Guys, they love that people for the MTC. You don't understand. We can be talking here. You have a party where more than 1,000 people were killed. They are dead people right now because of this party. You've got a heavy responsibility to preserve the legacy of the people who died for this party. I've got disabled people who are scattered all over the world in exile because of this party. So let us make sure that we respect this party. This party will win elections. If you guys do well, the party will win elections. So let's bring either Mukoi or President Mwonzora tomorrow, and I'll call you again, Mkoma Mnashe, tomorrow. Let's work this out through the process until we get the resolution. I'll give you my time, as much time as I can, to make sure that it happens.
Thank you.
Okay, so tomorrow is the Sunday. Please make time, Mkoma Guta. We need you to come here.
Time. Yep.
Yes, let's get this story about the Congress sorted out. And also, let's all be open to listening to each other. I know Kuti, it's nice to say, I've got my position in this firm. And the other one says, I've got my position in this firm. But you guys have got a lot in common. I can see you've got a lot in common. The only difference we have is at what point we need to hold the Congress. That Congress is ordered by the court. And how we're going to hold it. That is where we're different.
And that there is very paramount. Drama. We want Congress as soon as possible, as stipulated by the court, without Mwonzora calling the same Congress because he's the one who violated the previous one.
But I also willing to agree that the Constitution, you must also look at the constitutional mandate.
The Constitution does not say you can break the law and then tomorrow also say enough to no break a law. We don't work at and neither are the judges who ruled in our favor.
Okay.
You see what, Gambakwe? The challenge is we approached Mwonzora and we tried to knock some sense in his mind that you can be ceremonially the president even though there's a court judgment. But he denied that. And now where we can, I don't know if we can still negotiate with him.
Okay, let's carry this on tomorrow evening, same time, 10 minutes past 9. One side brings one person. I would like to hear Mkoi, if possible. Let him come here. You can come with him, Mkoma Mnashe. And then yourself, Mkoma Guta, you can bring 2 people. But we need President Mwonzora, if possible.
Yes, I will try and make sure that I can. In fact, I'm going to facilitate that we have President Mwonzora here tomorrow. I think it's very important that he.
Okay, and Mkoma Mnashe, please make sure that we've got Mukoi here. Get him some data in Zimbabwe. I know it's a bit tough. Get him a proper connection, and let's get this done. People love the MTC. I personally love the MTC myself. I don't know, Kuti, what you can do to wash MTC out of me. That was my first party in the opposition of Zimbabwe. So let's make it happen tomorrow.
Okay, we will be here with the 3 of us with Chair Dan as well.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and all the guests who've been sitting through all these arguments. I hope that we gave it justice, and I'll see you again tomorrow. And a good night to everybody.
Good night, Paddington, and thank you.